Hi, I'm Mark Swenson. I'm a lawyer. I'm a retired police lieutenant, and I'm here to talk to you about my book, How to Win Your Sexual Abuse Lawsuit. It's available at Amazon. It's also available for free if you want to read it online at my website, which is www.swensonlaw.com. I'm going to go through this very quickly in just a few sessions here, and I'm going to make them short so that you're not going to have trouble downloading them. The sessions are going to give you a condensed version of the book, and this will help you if you have a sexual abuse claim, or somebody you know or love has a sexual abuse claim for child molesting or rape or any other kind of sexual abuse. This will help you. I'm going to give you the down and dirty facts, and I'm going to give you right here on YouTube some condensed versions of what this is all about. Okay? This is the first little video of it, and we're going to go through, number one, an overview. Number two, we're going to start in the first part of the book, which is how to stay safe. And that's a very important part of this. In this book, there are several parts. How to stay safe. Usually in a law book, you don't start out telling people things about how to stay safe. But in the case of sexual abuse, it is so common for someone to repeatedly offend, to repeatedly go after a victim, that we have to cover that first. How to stay safe. Number two, how to investigate the case. People really don't know how to investigate a case, and we're going to get into what you should do, when you should call the police, and when you might want to delay that. I'm not saying don't call the police, but you call them at the time that is right for you. Who to talk to, how to get the police to take your case seriously, how to preserve evidence, how to look up the suspect in this, what he's been doing, who his friends are, who possible witnesses are, looking up his employer, finding out who was with this guy, who was his friend, who knew what he was doing and didn't do anything about it. Find out about the employer too. There are three stages to the investigation. First of all, you have to investigate the victim. And people get a little upset at this, but I've got to explain it to you. You have to know what the defense is going to have on you and what they're going to use against you, so that you can take steps to protect yourself from it. It shouldn't be a surprise to you, because they're going to find out. And so you need to find out first. You should be first to know the information. Right? Next, you go to the suspect in this, to the perpetrator. You find out everything you can about the perpetrator, and then you find out everything you can about the perpetrator's employer. And you try to do these in stages. First of all, you try to do this in a very quiet way. You try to make the investigation as quiet as possible, because believe me, as soon as an employer, and usually as soon as the perpetrator, find out that they're the subject of an investigation, evidence is going to be destroyed. It's going to disappear. Employers, especially religious employers, are going to contact their employees and even former employees and tell them, you'd better not talk to that rascal, Mark Swenson, because he's out to hurt us. And this happens all the time. You don't want people to know that you're investigating them until the very last minute. All right, so you start out with a quiet investigation, and now that usually means investigating online. But it can also mean investigating in such things as school libraries and talking to witnesses until the employer or the perpetrator find out that you're on their tail. Then don't have to worry about keeping quiet. You do what you need to do, and you do it as fast as you can. The next part of this is going to be dealing with experts. A sexual abuse case is built on experts, mostly but not entirely psychologists. You need to know what it is that you need to get, and you also need to know what it is they're going to try to do to you, what the tests are they're going to give to you, and how those tests are going to try to trip you up. So we're going to deal with the experts. Then we're going to talk about how to negotiate a deal. The negotiation is a dance, and I'm going to teach you the steps of the dance, the basic steps of the dance. And if you've done the investigation first, if you've stayed safe, if you have the right things that you need from the experts that you need to hire, if you've done the psychological tests, and you should do your own psychological tests, rather than have them do it to you, you should do it to yourself. We'll get into that in a little bit. If you have all of these together, you're going to be in a very good position to negotiate. And then the last thing is trial. We're going to talk briefly about trial. But if you have properly prepared the case, the odds are low that your case will have to go all the way through a trial to a jury verdict. Almost all of these cases settle. The chance of, statistically in California, your chance of having to get an actual jury verdict is about 0.5%, if you've properly prepared. All right? So in just the remaining few minutes here in this first session, let's talk about staying safe. And the first question about staying safe is, when should you call the police? And when I say call the police, I mean call the real police. Never, ever involve any authority from a school, any school police officer, any educational institution, or the rent-a-cops that they have, or the school security, the school safety patrol, anything like that. Never involve them. They will screw it up for you. First, because they're completely incompetent, and secondly, because they don't want a rape or a sexual assault to have taken place. It's absolute poison to their recruiting of other students. And so that they're going to pretend that a sexual assault did not take place, and they're going to completely sink your case. So stay away from the school authorities. If you have to make a police complaint, go to the real cops and do it without hesitation. Do it now. Don't go to your Aunt Joan. Don't go to your Uncle Bill. Don't go to your trusted friend. Don't go to your parents. Don't go anywhere. Go to the real cops and don't look back. All right? Demand justice, and we'll talk to you about that in just a second. All right? You go to the real cops if, number one, you're not safe. If the perpetrator can still get you where you are, you go to the real cops. You tell them you want him arrested. You tell them you want a restraining order from a court against him. You tell them that this guy has assaulted you and you want him in jail. All right? And then, what do? When you're talking to the cops, you don't just talk passively to the cops. You take out your pen and you write down, officer, what is your name? What is your badge number? What is the name of your supervisor? What is the report number? And you write that down so that the policeman knows that you're not going to be kissed off. He's not going to be able to say, well, you know, you think about this and call me after I'm at lunch. No. You want service, and you want it now. Then you find out who's going to investigate the case in the police department, get their name and their telephone number, and their supervisor's name and their supervisor's telephone number, and you go physically down excuse me, to police headquarters, physically go down to police headquarters, and you talk to the investigator who's on your case every single solitary day, and you take notes, and you get to know them personally by name, and you get to know their supervisor and their supervisor's name, and you let them know that you are taking notes of this, because otherwise they've got other things to do. Police triage cases as to whether or not people are willing prosecution witnesses. And you let them know by going down there every single day that you want this case prosecuted. All right? So that's the first thing. If you're not safe, you go to the cops. If you have a perpetrator's semen inside you, in your vagina, in your anus, in your mouth, without washing, if it's on your skin or your clothes, same thing, without washing, without spitting it out, you call the cops. And that's awfully hard to do. You know, it's almost irresistible to want to do that. If you have to do that, take a clean a piece of toilet paper, absolutely clean, and spit into that. But don't wash out your mouth, don't take a shower, don't take a bath, don't wash anything else, don't change your clothes. This is very important evidence in the case. And the police, who have handled this many times before, will properly collect the evidence. If for some reason, any reason at all, that you cannot get to the cops at that moment, you take a clean piece of toilet paper from a brand new roll, okay, and you spit into it, and you put it into a plastic bag, and try not to have those bags that suppress odors, because they've got a little powder in them that is like a perfume. You want a clean plastic bag, and a clean envelope will do, a clean paper bag will do. Plastic is the best. Anything that is biodegradable, like semen, needs to be refrigerated. Don't let it out. Keep it refrigerated. And then take it to the police, all right? Next thing, who is in charge of your safety? Who's in charge of making sure that you're safe? You are, all right? So you have to make this decision, all right? The exception is for children. You're in charge of their safety. If you have a small child involved and you know that something bad has happened, don't interview the child. Call the police right away. No? You can't do that. What's going to happen is that the child is going to tell you something that's going to freak you out, and you're going to have a big emotional reaction, and it's going to frighten the child, and you're inadvertently going to suggest things to the child. Don't do that. Interviewing a child witness or a child victim is a job for an expert, and they usually do it in professional teams that have different professional backgrounds. So you really want to call the police right away if there's a child, excuse me, especially an infant involved. If there's any evidence that needs to be collected, if you think the perpetrator is going to escape, call the cops right now. Or the last thing, you call the cops right now if for some reason you come across child pornography. If you come across child pornography, if it's on a computer, don't turn off the computer. Do not touch the computer. Don't do anything to the computer. Leave it exactly the way it is. Don't turn it on. Don't turn it off. Don't show it to anybody. call the police. That's the only thing you can legally do, and if you do anything else, the penalties for that are really, really severe. All right? Let's go on to the next part of staying safe. Inside you, inside your mind, there is a little voice, and a little voice says there's danger. Listen to that little voice. Let that little voice be your guide. Right? If you think that somebody just has that look, stay away from them. Don't go into the elevator where you don't like the person in it. You know, oh, this is going up? No. Okay? If you're in an elevator, somebody you don't like gets in, get out. Always stand by the elevator buttons. And if you have a problem, push all the buttons except the red button. The red button stops it. If the red button is pushed, pull it back out. If the perpetrator pushes the red button, even if you have to fight him, pull it back out. Every floor that the elevator will stop at is another opportunity for you to yell for help. You don't want to be in an elevator. You also don't want to be in a stairway, because stairways are sealed and people won't hear you screaming it. Okay? You got to have a plan. The plan is this, and you can have whatever plan you want, but this is a good one. Plan is stay out of the range of the perpetrator. If you have a perpetrator attacking you, stomp on his instep, right on his foot. Stomp on it as hard as you can, and that's the only thing you should physically do to him. You know, don't use your hands, because he can grab your hands, grab your arms. Stomp on his instep, because that makes it very difficult for him to run away or run after you. Run away, calling for help. Yell for help, call for help on your cell phone, go to a public place. Never go to a closet, a bathroom, any place where you can get in there and lock the door. Go to a public place and keep calling for help, keep yelling for help, all right? Even if he's got a gun, even if he's got a knife, chances are he won't shoot you. If he does shoot you, chances are it won't be fatal. Run. Even if you're hurt, run to a public place. Deny the attacker privacy. Never let someone put you into a closed room. Never let them take you any place else, because they're taking you to a safe place for them. Not for you. Never let them tie you up, never let them gag you, never let them put you in a car, never let them drive you any place. Never, ever, ever, ever. Fight like hell. Used to be they'd say, oh, you know, just don't resist, don't make a mess. There are so many of these guys now who enjoy killing people in the act of sex that your best chances are in fighting. They interviewed rapists in prison, and they found out that the vast majority of them chose their victims by whether or not they thought the victims would resist. So they chose victims they thought wouldn't resist. So what's the message? Resist. All right? Thus endeth the lesson. We're going to get on this in the next video. Give me a call if you want, 707-431-0235. You can email me at mdswendsen@gmail. Go onto my website, which is swensonlaw.com, and you can get this book, How to Win Your Sexual Abuse Lawsuit, from Amazon.com. All right?